In this video, I'll be talking about the last 2 weekends of racing. The first one will have no cameras, which I'll explain, and then the second one will have the onboard camera of the makeup feature at Farley, and then the second feature there. It's Sunday morning, and to give everyone an update on my weekend, I didn't get any videos on board because it's just a tough adjustment, you know, to get the cameras all set up and everything before I go out. We had some issues with the car on Friday. When I went for the makeup feature on the first lap, the car spun in front of me, and I slid in there just to kind of get next to him, you know, instead of T-boning him. And then the car behind me hit me, and it broke my right front, it broke my left front, it broke the center link, the tie rod arms, it broke both wheels and tires, bent both shocks, so that was kind of an expensive fix. And it hit me hard enough it broke my clutch pedal in half, so that kind of changed the way the night went. And luckily Mitch decided not to race Friday because he just wanted to hang out with the family. We took his trailer, so from taking his trailer I could use his parts, because that's the nice thing about having the same cars, is I could use all the spare parts. So we put those on and went out in the heat race, and I think I got third. And then I started on the pole for the feature because of a DNF on the last feature, and led the first 5 laps. The car was really good, I thought. And then second place was maybe just a tad bit better, but he ended up spinning me out coming out of turn 2. He got into my left rear, and he didn't let off me until the middle of the straightaway, so that was really disappointing, because I think we had a really good shot at winning it, and if not winning it, being definitely second. So I had the preferred groove, and I think it would have been really hard for anybody to get around me. So then that was pretty frustrating. So Saturday was a struggle to get ready for Maquoketa, because I wanted to go run again, you know, knowing that we finally got a little bit of a race in. We only got 8 laps, and there were so many cautions, they actually canceled the race. So Saturday we went, and wasn't very good in the heat race, I mean, truly. So we made a little bit of adjustments, and then I went out in the feature on Saturday and at Maquoketa, and I just still wasn't there. I mean, you know, usually I can get to the front pretty easy, but I just, you know, I could hardly even hang out with the back of the pack. So I think we kind of went off Victory's base setup just to get us an idea of what we need to do, and it's just not working for my driving style, I don't think, and we're just going to make little adjustments. I mean, we're not going to change a whole lot. We think there's just some angles in the bars that will help a lot, and I'm confident my dad will get the car to where it needs to be. You know, he's pretty smart about stuff, and it was our first true race, you know, first time I could run basically 15 laps without having to, you know, get tore up. It was just the first night everything stayed together. So we got the car washed up this morning. From Friday we had put a new patch panel in. I mean, I was gonna wrap this thing, but it's just getting pretty beat up right now. Everybody's a little more aggressive than usual, so I'm gonna unload this thing right now, and I'm actually gonna put it on the scales again to just kind of see where we were at last night, because I just don't think there's any bite in the car. The left rear just looks like it's sitting really low. So I'll show you throwing her on the scale so you guys can see what that looks like. And yeah, next week I'll have a lot more. I didn't tear too much stuff up, so I'll have a lot more time to work on my camera setups for the car, and that should help and make these videos a lot more enjoyable. But like I said, it's just tough, you know, to get everything figured out with the cameras. So I got the car pulled in the shop, and I'm going to put it on the scales. A lot of people use the electronic scales, but my dad's old school, and he thinks the grain scales are a lot more accurate. And they're also nicer because you can crawl under the car to work on it. When you scale a car, in order to make sure you have the right measurements and make sure everything's in the right place, first you got to set the tire pressures like you're ready to go out on the track. You got to do the fuel, make sure your fuel level's right, because there's a certain amount of gallons that you run in your setup. You got to make sure you put weight in the seat, because some cars, the way you scale it, so for me I'll have to put a bunch of chunks of lead in. and then you got to go around and, you know, with these scales, it's just like, you know, like you would see, you just get the amount of weight on there, then obviously just like the old grain scales work. And then once you get that, if there's something he doesn't like, my dad doesn't like in the weights, you got to check the ride heights, and you go, there's 4 corners that you go at, and you got to like accurately go in the same spot, otherwise it could be different. We scale in the same location every single time, just to keep it accurate. These are what you call a screw jack. That's how you adjust your height of the car in each corner. So I got the chunks of lead in. I'm 200 pounds, so I put 200 pounds in there. Grabbed a bunch of chunks of lead. I got the fuel set right, tire pressure set right, so now I'm gonna go here and do the scales. I scaled my car last, so should be pretty close. Just gonna kind of go through all these. You know, usually we would make adjustments, but my dad just wants to see where I was at last night to kind of get an idea, to know that obviously that didn't work because I just wasn't very good. So yeah, you just basically put the weights on. You know, like I said, I scaled mine last, so they're pretty close. You just adjust it. Yeah, the electronic ones, they do all the calculating for you. They tell you what your cross weight, what your tail percentage is, and they do all that. And we had some, but all the old school racers, they say they're junk. So I'm just gonna go off what they say, because they're the ones who kind of are the successful ones. So, well, I got all those done, the weights right. I'm gonna go get my book that I keep my notes in, because you have like your scale sheets and all that stuff. You got to stay organized, so you know, you put all your lists in there, your finishes, what gear you ran at certain tracks, so that way when you go back you're ready to go. And that way you stay organized, because if you ask any racer, being organized is 80% of the battle. Well, after a rough weekend last weekend, we decided to go try Farley Speedway. They did a lot of work at their track, and they had a makeup feature, so we thought we'd go try it out. Mitch and I have never even seen the track since they redid it. They like changed the walls and changed the infield and just did a bunch of stuff, so we thought it'd be pretty cool to go there. Once we got there, we realized the track was going to be kind of a fight all night. It was really, really rough once we got out there, and they did the makeup features first, and then they were supposed to do a heat race, and then they were supposed to do the normal night feature. So we both had to start back in the feature, and I think Mitch didn't run very good in the first one. It's just really rough. I mean, probably the worst track I've been on, and I hate to talk bad about it, but it's just the truth. I mean, you know, everyone has those tracks sometimes, and I went out, and on the first lap, I was just going to keep my nose clean, kind of pass cars as I could. 2 cars in front of me kind of got together, and one shot up the track and hit me in the driver's door. It spun me sideways, and then the same car that hit me ran over my front end, which you'll see on the onboard camera. And so I got out of the car thinking it was really bad, and I looked, and it just looked like it bent the center link a little bit. So I was like, oh, I'll run it a little bit just to kind of try, you know, make sure nothing else was too bad. So I ran a few laps and pulled it in, and ended up bending the center link in the ball joint. As usual, man, it's been rough, and so we got it fixed, and they decided to not run heat races because the track was just getting so bad, and it was getting late because they started hot laps at 7. So we went, and Mitch was on the first lap. He was warming the tires up, and he broke a drive shaft, so he was out right away, and it broke the pull bar and everything. So then when I went out, it was just, I ended up having to start in the back because we didn't run a heat race. And I think I was up to 5th or 6th at a time. There was just so many cautions, and the track was brutal. On the restart, I believe, I had to start on the high side, and I just kind of got hung out to dry, and I fell back to 8th, and that's where I ended up finishing. Car's still just not quite there yet. We just kind of had, you know, little problems going on, and just fighting for traction for whatever reason. we're gonna kind of try to do some new things, kind of do some stuff that my dad's been wanting to do, and hopefully we get a little better, and hopefully our luck turns around because it's just been a really tough year. I mean, we've never had a year like this where we've been tearing up so much stuff. So hopefully we can get going better, so it'll be a little more entertaining to watch us run up front than run the way we've been running. The two onboard cameras are kind of short videos because there's so many cautions. I didn't want you guys to have to watch the cautions, and I didn't want to have to cut everyone because, I mean, I would say 80% of the video was cautions, so I didn't want you guys to have to feel the pain on that, and I didn't want to have to do all that. plan for next week is, I believe, to go to Davenport because there's a 2,000 to win race for sport mods, and I'm just hoping to make the show. I mean, I've made it every single year since I started racing sport mods, and I've never really had a problem making it. It's just running competitive. There's been times where I ran up in the top five the whole race and have a problem. So hopefully we find something. This is just one of them years where the 2000 win came early, and hopefully we maybe find something on that night. So I was kind of debating on taking a break for a weekend and putting a new body on it because the body is just trash. I mean, there's a hole the size of my head on the driver's door from getting hit, and but it's kind of hard to sit at home when there's a big race at your home track. So that'll be our plan. We'll go to Davenport on Friday, and I'm not sure what Mitch wants to do Saturday, if he wants to race or if he wants to go to Maquoketa or Independence or Burlington. So I guess we'll find out. Thanks for watching.